That's a good question. So let's go back. So we're getting data, whatever data is available about what happened. Is it the poor communities? Is it the well-to-do communities? Is it what happened to Disney? What happened to big parts, chunks of Florida that will, I mean, we are not saying that the whole of Florida was really demolished, because some of the communities did not change the regulations. What happened in 2010 is that they allowed the environmental regulations, bylaws, to be managed by the cities, not by the state. So when that happened, you can imagine that some of these little communities, which actually wanted to see more development, developers were that's kind of strong, so they dictated what might be done, but other communities were kind of balanced and didn't allow that. So I believe this will be a very good case when we just get some data. We will have enough data to compare between communities that kept the original regulations, which Louis was saying that it was some of the very strict, which I believe, which was some of the very strict regulations and bylaws in development, in balancing environment and development. And then we will get to, so what will be our objective? Is it like the extreme, make it a whole like nature preserve for the whole of Florida, or whatever was demolished, don't build again, or build it wisely and don't have the same kind of number of units, or don't allow wooden structures anymore in these areas and make it all like concrete and steel and things? I don't know. So I believe search for the data, search for the regulations that govern what kind of development. And since it is not a statewide since 2010, as I understand, or my prelim research refers to, that it was changed in 2010 instead of making it development controlled by the state to development controlled by cities and counties. So some counties changed their bylaws and regulations and some did not. And then come up with objectives and rules of how would we seek redevelopment or replanning. Would it be everything again? What are the bylaws and regulations that we need to follow? What will be our economic objectives, environmental objectives, social objectives? Would you plan the whole parts of the state that were completely demolished to be again for retirees? Is it gonna be back for retirement communities? What will be your objectives? I think this will be good enough for like the next couple of weeks. So now we're ready for you. What would you like to present about the development of comprehensive plan? Can you hear us, Nigeria?
Yes, I can hear you. You have to let me share the screen. It says the whole screen share.
I actually don't have, I mean, let me see, where does it go? I will make you co-host. Try now.
Okay.
Working?
Yeah.
Very good. Go ahead. You can see it, right? Okay, very good. City of Lincoln. Go ahead. Very good, Nigeria. Thank you.
Let me unmute myself. And second.
Zoom is much more superior than Blackboard.
It is. Okay. Oh. All right, can you guys see?
Yes, I can see it.
So the comprehensive plan that I chose to do is for the city of Lincoln, Nebraska, which is not my birthplace, but it's where I'm from, where I was raised. So Plan Forward is the Lincoln Lancaster County 2050 Comprehensive Plan. And this plan shares a vision for the future all the way to year 2050. It's a roadmap to plan forward and to a vision, a community that's thriving, livable, equitable, innovative, and resilient.
When was it done? Like 2010, 2015?
Yeah, like I think it was 2015 when they did this.
Okay.
The goals of the comprehensive plan that I'm going to talk about today is safe, affordable, and accessible housing, complete neighborhoods, high quality workforce, economic opportunity, equity and inclusion, and transportation.
Okay, two questions. What is complete neighborhoods?
That's in the presentation.
Okay. And the same for high quality workforce?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay, so the first goal is affordable housing. And this is I feel like it's one of the most important elements. Ensuring safe, adequate, and affordable housing of neighborhoods in the city as a whole. Their plan is to support making homes available to families that are both affordable and safe. The Federal Office of Housing and Urban Development defines cost burden households as those paying more than 30% of income towards housing, which is, I think, everywhere, right? If I'm not mistaken. And
30%. Today I saw numbers for
Yeah.
different states, and the number for New York State was 36. 36%
Okay.
of income, and they say that in Florida it was 45%,
Oh, wow.
which is too much.
That's way too much.
Yeah. So 36 is, I mean, it's not really, it's like New York, which is expensive. So
Right.
I believe 30% for Nebraska is also expensive.
Yeah. So Lincoln households that make less than 25,000 per year are at most risk of being cost burden. Lincoln's housing market is affordable for most households, but the housing costs are actually continuing to rise. And that's why they feel like in this comprehensive plan that it should be addressed. And to resolve or help with this issue, they have a plan to develop 5,000 affordable units by the year 2030. The next goal is complete neighborhoods, and Lincoln will support complete neighborhoods within both developing and redeveloping areas. And according to this plan, a complete neighborhood is where one resident is able to get goods and services to meet daily needs within 15 minutes of their residence, including housing, grocery stores, commercial services, public schools, open spaces and parks and recreational, and also affordable active transportation.
15 minutes of car rides? Or
Yeah,
walk?
car rides.
So what are these figures to the right? I cannot actually see that.
Is it blurry? It's just like a map of a complete neighborhood. Like there's one, it says grocery, and there's a park over there. Then there's homes, and you'll see the bus at the bottom that represents the transportation options.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Go ahead.
High quality workforce. It benefits the entire community because it attracts employers and entrepreneurs, and it helps grow the population and the tax base. In Lincoln, an individual who didn't graduate from high school is 5 times as likely to be in poverty than somebody with a 4-year higher college degree. And
I'll say this again. So actually, if you only have high school, you are most probably will not make it.
yeah, you will most likely be in poverty 5 times. It's likely to be in poverty than somebody with a 4-year
And
college.
what is the poverty line in Nebraska?
The poverty line?
I mean, how much a year your income? If it is like, I mean, what is the poverty threshold for a family?
Or what I'm just talking about, like high school and college graduate?
Yeah, I mean, I can compare this to what was in the news also about this new grant or student loan forgiveness. And I think they were talking about 120 or something for a family. under which they will be forgiven for whatever loan they have, or I mean, I don't know exactly the mechanism now, but is it like 120? Is it like 60, 50, whatever in Nebraska?
In Nebraska, well, for Lincoln, the average poverty is 12.5%.
I know, but I mean, how much money you need to be making to be above this line? I mean, not to be considered a poor person.
I think I might have. Yeah, this is the median earnings. Yeah, I'm just gonna. That one's next.
That's earnings. It's not like income, family income.
Okay, well, I didn't talk about income in this one.
Okay.
Okay.
Just search for the cutting line, cutting line for making somebody or a family below the poverty line.
You want me to look it up right now?
No, not now.
Oh, okay.
Just continue. Okay, so these are very good figures.
Thank you. So in this figure, it shows the poverty status for people aged 25 and over in the Lancaster County, and shows the poverty rate. So high school graduates, 11%. Some college is 8.4%. Bachelor's degree or higher is 3.5%. And the next one, excuse me. Oops, sorry. You'll see here the median earnings in the past 12 months for people less than high school graduate is only 26,000. High school, 30,000. Some college is 36,000, and so on and so on.
So most probably the cut line will be like 30,000 or a little bit less.
Yeah, I would believe so.
Yeah, but you need still to search for them. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I can.
That's a good figure. That's a good. But did you? I mean, I don't want to stop you, but did you go through like how much is a house cost? Average house cost?
No.
Okay, okay. Continue, please.
Okay. Economic opportunity. With the high quality jobs that I talked about in earlier slides, it will be able to support business creation, innovation, and expansion in the area. The quality of life will continue to rise, such as diverse housing, good shopping areas, restaurants, entertainment, schools, and just as having a sense of safety. And I feel like they put this in a comprehensive plan because it's important to ensure that individuals want to remain and relocate to Lincoln, Nebraska. Okay.
Okay.
And the next one is equity and inclusion. Acknowledging the disparities that exist not only in Lincoln, but everywhere, I feel like is vital to properly discuss how to move forward as a community. Lincoln and the Lancaster community plan to establish equity regardless of the race, ethnicity, gender, religion, age, or economic status as a core principle in this comprehensive plan. They identify local trends that relate to measurable aspects that focus on race and ethnicity disparities within housing, income, poverty, juvenile justice, and labor force participation. In 2020, the total percent of minorities living in Lincoln was 20.5%, and is anticipated to rise to about 35.3% in the year 2050.
No, wait. Say this again.
In 2020, the total percent of minorities living in Lincoln was 20.5%.
Okay. So from 20.5 to 35.3?
20.5 to 35.3, yes.
Wow, that's really high. I mean, it's like doubling.
Yeah.
What do you think, Louis? Is it like what Louis was saying? I mean, what Louis is suggesting is actually true. Are they expecting people to move from outside, or they are expecting people to move from the city?
No, they're expecting people to come in.
Come in.
Yeah.
All
right.
That's really, I mean, that's a very imaginative objective from 20 to 35. That's very imaginative.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, are you done with this slide?
No, I was letting you
Right.
guys.
Well, what's declining hazardous areas?
I haven't got there yet. I was letting you guys talk.
Okay, okay. Right. But actually, I mean, part of what we do with these assignments is we open the discussion about whether these objectives are actually kind of logical.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna like my objectives.
I don't see this as actually like possible. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but what makes them think that they will have like double the minorities coming to the city?
Well, when I was reading the comprehensive plan, they was just, I guess, just estimated based on historic trends and growth projections they had.
Historic trends of migrations or historic trends of growth of population?
It probably is. They probably did do like a cohort component projection. I'm guessing the minority population just happens to have more.
And that's what it said in the plan. They didn't show the growth projection but they said based on growth projections.
I mean, there is nothing against this kind of a very imaginative objective, but I would say, why do they think it will happen? Why do they think it will happen? I mean, if there are like 35% what they call minorities, that's a big change. Anyway, okay. So they have this. Do you have any idea why was it like 35 years or 30 years of projection?
Do I have idea why they wanted to do?
I mean, yeah, why not like 15 years or 20 years?
I guess they felt like they could get all of it done by 2050.
What do you think, Los?
Was that again?
Why do you think they made it for 30 or 35 years projection, not 10 or 15 or 20?
Hey, that's just what they wanted to do for the comprehensive plan.
Right.
Actually, what he mentioned is correct, because when they were teaching us about the comprehensive plan in like the year 1970 and 80, they were telling us that a comprehensive plan would be long range and you need to work with 30 years. But now we don't do any plans for 30 years because things change very fast. So they can do that in 1970, 1980. But in 2022, I will not do a plan more than, I mean, even 20 years will be too much. We usually do plans for like 15 years, maybe 20 years, because, you know, things now, I mean, nothing would have predicted that change is happening in the 2020s, 21, 22. It's too much, even not only inside the country here, but all over the globe. Every country is like faced with unprecedented economic, social, and other conditions. So that will be my own comment. And if somebody comes to me for a 30-year plan, I would advise that maybe for 30-year plan, you don't need all of these figures. We will do it for 20 and then wait for a few more years and make sure that our predictions are correct for 20 years and then extend it. But I will not do a plan now for 35 years.
At least her plan has a timeline.
Yeah. But no, I mean, you know, I can make plans for, I mean, I have seen plans for 100 years. Yeah, they planned for 100 years in the future. And I can tell you that nobody has this kind of ability now. You cannot do that. Even if you have like a 35-year plan in Nebraska, I mean, things will change dramatically. So that even 20 years will be more like kind of unreal. But let's go for 15 or 20 years. I mean, I will do 30 years if I'm working with a rural community in Montana. Because I don't believe there will be like a lot of conditions for change. But for anywhere else, I wouldn't do 35 years. Anyway, sorry, but this was my comment for this. And I would ask you, please, to write down all the questions that you might come up with, I mean, after finishing your presentation. And yeah, because these will be very much interesting when you, I mean, if you are gonna replan Florida, would you do it for 35 years, 100 years, 15 years?
The environmental aspect of replanning for Florida, we have to keep the state intact.
He's mentioning something very interesting. So actually, I might not be producing a whole comprehensive plan for Florida for like 30, 40 years, but I might be doing environmental planning for 50 years or 100 years, because I don't want the state to like vanish in 20, 30 years if they keep doing what they're doing. So actually, I might be doing environmental planning for 100 years, but I won't do social or urban planning or housing planning for more than 20 years. I won't do that. You get the point that being comprehensive, covering all the data, doesn't necessarily mean that you plan for the same timeline for all the aspects. Or at least this is my, I mean, this is what I believe in. Okay, go ahead. Continue, Niger. Thank you. I mean, you're opening up very good discussions.
Thank you. Okay, so in 1916, it's an area in Lincoln called Sheridan Boulevard, and it was the first area to introduce race restrictions before the red line map was introduced. And of course, it said only those of the Caucasian race could purchase, with the exception being if they had maids or servants that were Black. And after the red line map came out, as we all might know, right, white residents received, loans from the federal housing, and they would deny these loans to the declining or hazardous areas. And of course, these areas were mostly where the minorities and Black population was at. So the homes in these areas would thus fall into disrepair or, turn into, I don't want to say a crack house, but something like that, something really bad. I'm sorry, that was just something I had thought of, but
That's okay.
I have a picture of this map for you guys that I wanted to show. And if you can see, these red areas are what is called the hazardous areas. And then the orange is the declining areas. Blue is still desirable. And green is best. And this Black outline is the percent below poverty level is greater than 30%. And the minority population inside of this area, or the shaded areas here, is where the minority population is greater than 20%. So it's some over here, right here in this middle area, and some that way.
Wow. Made it very interesting. 1933, you said, but actually it started 1916. Wow.
1916 is when
They started
an area in Lincoln had their race restriction before the red line map.
All right.
Yeah, it was before redlining. They already had race restrictions, and yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So the medium income disparities. The median.
Yeah, that's what I needed.
This is what you needed.
Yeah.
Okay. The median income for a household is $60,527.
Wow.
And as you can see, the white, not Hispanic or Latino households account for 86.3% of the distribution and earn a median income of $60,907. While non-white households income medium ranges between 15 to 47% less than the white households.
No,
No,
go back. No, go back again. Yes. So actually, the median is the 60,527. That's for all the households, right?
Yep, median income for households and
While white is 63,907.
mhm,
Asian is higher than black,
yep,
54,000, and still makes the median as 60,000. That's high. That's, I
mhm,
mean, that's not bad, actually.
yeah,
That's not bad. For Lincoln, that's not bad. And that, I mean, if you can link this to, if you go like to the other chart where poverty was,
this one,
this is poverty, no, and this is poverty, yeah.
yep, this one's poverty.
And this was the same graph that you presented before, right?
No, this one's a different one. This
The other
is-
one was per job,
Yeah,
right?
median earnings and poverty status.
So actually, this is education. I'm sorry, this is by education.
And one,
All right.
it's population. All right, the rest of these.
So, no, go back. So below poverty line for the black who are making average 36,000, you have 26% in poverty.
Yes,
And for the whites who are making 63,000, you're having 10.9 thousand. That actually looks like good deal of disparity.
mhm,
Like there are very rich people and very poor people.
yeah,
Wow.
yep. It says 37,500 individuals are currently below the 2019 poverty guidelines.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Any comments, Louis?
I'm surprised your plan had this stuff.
It's like enlightening. I mean,
It's like comprehensive.
that's comprehensive.
Mine's comprehensive in a different way.
That's why we need different cities. Go ahead.
All right, the transportation goals. They want to achieve a safe, efficient, and sustainable transportation system that, of course, enhances the quality of life, livability, and the economy. So some of the goals they wanted with this was a well-maintained transportation system, a reliable and well-connected transportation system, a multimodal system that provides travel options to support more compact, livable environment, transportation investments developed through an inclusive process that promotes equitable outcomes, a safe and secure transportation system, and a transportation system that supports economic vitality for residents and businesses. And then like living in Lincoln, you notice a lot, like we don't have a lot of trains, or like in New York, they have those the fast trains, I don't know what they're called. And we also don't have
The rapid transit.
the rapid transit. We do have a city bus, but they're also working on making more bike routes and bike lanes for the roads as well.
Okay.
Yep.
That's really interesting.
Any questions?
Not for transportation. I'm still thinking about money. I mean, if you go back.
You want to go back to it?
Yes, please go up poverty, because now you're showing that like an average of 60,000, which is not bad. But you're saying that 26% of the white, 24% of the black, and I mean, oh, I'm sorry, 10.9% of the white, 26 of the black, 35 of some other something, and 22, 24%. I mean, it's a lot of 20s, 26%. And 10.9% of the whole white population is considered poor. So actually, that's the question again. What is poor? I mean, if you are making how much, like 40%, 40,000, 30,000, 35,000? But actually with these numbers, I would, when we saw this thing about high school and things, I would believe the poverty line will be somewhere between 35 and maybe 30 something. I mean, it's around 35,000.
Mhm.
Always in comprehensive planning, we link all of these numbers together. We try to understand what makes them poor, what kind of ethnicities or races that are really poorer than the rest, and things like that.
All right, assuming they're a family of four.
Okay.
For the US, the poverty line is for 2022 is 27,000
Wow. Oh, really?
for a family of four.
Did you get this number? Did you hear it?
No, I didn't hear him. What did he say?
Louis, just raise your voice.
So for the poverty rate for a family of four is $27,000.
Okay, so I found online that in 2018, the poverty income for a family of four with two children is 25,000 in Nebraska.
Yeah,
Not too far off.
it's not far off, but actually, he's talking federal, not Nebraska, right?
Yeah.
He's talking across the US,
Mm-hmm.
so it's different. But anyway, I mean, we will come back to this. I don't want to really stop your very nice presentation. So go ahead, please. Go ahead, continue.
But that was it.
You opened a lot of discussion.
Mhm.
Open a lot of discussion. And if I want to work with now, if I want to work with Florida, it will
Mhm.
be a whole like can of things coming out, because what will be the average income you are planning for, because this will decide how much will housing be costing a normal family. What will be the cost of a house or the rent of a house that they can pay? You remember this discussion about the rent price of land thing?
Mhm.
How much would you do that? And I believe we will be very much interested to know how would you price new housing? How much would you like to pay for regenerating some parts of the city? As we were mentioning, some people were saying in interviews that they make like 25,000 a year, retiree people. So anyway, so it opens a lot of discussions. If it is a retirement community, how would you guess or calculate different occupations working in these communities?
Do retired people work?
Do they
I know
work?
Some of them do.
So, yeah.
Well, the poor retired people around here work.
If they have to. But that will be interesting, actually, an interesting question. Will retired people work? And if they work, what kind of jobs will be available for them if you are replanning? That's a good question.
I hope they like Target. No, Target will hire them in a heartbeat like this.
Target, Costco, Walmart.
Oh, no, I forgot about Walmart.
Actually, I was flying American Airlines, and there was this new stewardess. She's 60. She was in training.
Oh, good for her.
She was in training. I mean, I talked to her. So that's a good question. Would they like, I mean, if you have retired communities of very poor people and very rich people, I would definitely think that the rich people would not mind working again. But the poor people will not be willing if they don't have like education, good education, which put them in poverty in the first place.
Or a home.
All right, thank you, Nigeria. Thank you. I think it was very interesting. Let us listen now to Louis. So I will make him host and see what happens. Okay, you can present.
Can you see the screen, Nigeria?
Yep.
Okay, so my presentation is gonna be a little different. Because mainly the city of Huntsville's comprehensive plan isn't like a regular comprehensive plan. And I say this because they have no like actual metrics that they're basing it on, that they are going to review it on. And there's no definite period within the plan for when it says that it's going to be implemented by. They didn't say when their plan was going to be for how many years. It is very visionary. So I want to look at some of these maps within it because they're really going to lead the discussion that I have for it. So we have our current zoning map. And I'm going to go back to it towards the end of it so we can compare it with some of the maps that they have shown us and then compare it to some of their visions and policies. So they have no general like vision statement, no statement of purpose. They just have 6 principles that they are basing their whole plan on. They are build a live, work, connect community, which essentially for them means building a city where individuals of all ages, cultures, backgrounds, and abilities can find a great place to live, become successful, enjoy life, while creating a unique, safe environment that is interconnected and helps the city offer something to all residents. They want to expand the sustainable, resilient economy. They want to have a diverse, innovative economy that offers opportunities for all and includes all businesses and ventures of all types to help Huntsville grow. They want to design a mobile and sustainable transportation network. I find that actually very funny because transportation is terrible here in the city of Huntsville. This is how they define it. They just want to design a multi-module city that is safe and easy to navigate through the roadways, public transit, bike lanes, and greenways. They want to have all these forms of transportation connected to serve people. That's what they mean by mobile. Somehow they're all intertwined and help you get to where you need to be. They also want to maintain a network of exceptional education. They want to maintain a deep and forward-thinking tradition of learning from pre-K to postdoctoral, from primary schooling through college. They're using this primarily to help develop a highly skilled workforce. One of the odd ones they have in here is they want to support local. Nope. And they weren't kidding when this is just a vision. Because when you look at their transportation plan, they just talk about how they're going to improve bike paths. Nothing about the bus system, not even a map showing where they want to expand routes to or change operating hours. It's just a map of the existing bus lines.
just wanted to say that we are not. Something to mention. Also possible.
Hello? Kind of went quiet there.
Model is descent.
How will they achieve it? Well, we'll figure that out. And how they're gonna like implement and revision it. Figure all that out. They also want to support local arts and culture. So they want to support their own distinct character within the city by including their heritage and creating a thriving art scene, while also creating recreation and creating unique neighborhoods within the city. What happened? It's a very odd one, especially because. Oh no, I'm just saying this is a very odd vision statement because Huntsville isn't really known for art and culture. They also want to develop healthy and active neighborhoods. They want to. Oh. Stop sharing. Oh, yeah, I can't share anymore.
Local art is saying that this is an objective. Local art.
They want to develop healthy and active neighborhoods. They want to develop a Huntsville as a place that is recognized for having an active population. They want the community to engage with nature on a daily basis.
Is Dr. Oaf talking? Because I can't hear him.
Can you hear me now? Any better?
Okay, let me say a few words. Because we are in the same room, we cannot have two microphones working.
Right.
So I will ask Louis to actually put the discussion. I will just limit my role here because it's like echoing. But what I was saying is that it's like support local arts and culture. It looks like a dream. It's like daydreaming. But we will come to this later. And I was saying that it is possible sometimes to make what we call a vision plan. We will talk about this. But a vision plan is not a comprehensive plan. It's different in some ways. So a vision and guidelines or a vision and action plan, it is something that is completely different, but it is comprehensive in some aspects. But I will just limit my discussion now because we cannot have two microphones. I will just mute.
Okay.
So to go along with this, they actually have a lot of policy, a lot of it, like a wall of text load of policy. And each of these policies go with a specific vision that they have. like aging in place. That's a policy goal they have for creating safe, sustainable neighborhoods. They have bike network development. That's what they include for the transportation. But they have very specific policies that pertain to these visions. And they really do have a lot. A lot of them. I actually want to show what the policies look like within the comprehensive plan. So in case anyone didn't know, the Huntsville Comprehensive Plan is a website that you can navigate. So with each policy, they give you what the policy is establishing to do. And then within the read more, they give you a little bit more detail, like once again, the vision of why they want this policy, about the policy, and why they want to implement it into the city. And then down here, they have the actions they would take. But then
This is not the.
and no, this is the bike network
What do you think?
for the aging population. Let's go back. For the actions, they have a lot of actions. And this is essentially how they're tracking and implementing their vision statements. And if we can see some of the vision actions are very vague. Like inform and educate and encourage the aging population regarding the benefits of active living. How would you quantify that? How do you measure that? One of the policy decisions that I really want to talk about that has to do with one of their visions, and that's besides the transportation one, is they want to build a live, work, and connected communities. And for that, one of their policy decisions is to implement mixed-use planning. Things like mixed-use planning, the transit, and zoning updates. Those are all things that they use for these visions. And I want to show us some maps. So this map right here is a map showing what type of housing densities are located within the city. The blue is single-family housing. The green is where you can build multifamily housing. So how are we going to improve our transportation if most of the city is still zoned for single-family housing? And within your transportation plan, you don't have anywhere that wants to update the bus lines. This next map shows the areas where you can build high-density multifamily housing. And it's still not a lot, and it's mainly on your main corridors. And once again, they didn't create a bus map to show you where the transit would be going through, or if they were gonna add like light rail or anything like that. So once again, how are we taking the transit vision and actually implementing it? This is also where our retail space is. And as you can see, the retail space overlaps where you can build the multifamily housing. So you now have multifamily housing competing with retail space for the same land. And most of the office space is yes, that's one of their policies that they want to implement. And I'm gonna go back to the zoning map so we can look at where they're actually zoned from mixed use. And here's a map that I really enjoyed because it's where you can actually develop land. So the green is undeveloped land that's just green fields, empty farms. And the light beige is where there's already development, where things would have to be redeveloped. Anything within the red squiggly lines, you cannot build because there's mountains and slopes there. And the blue is the floodplain, and you really do not want to build in a floodplain. So if we go back to the main one. This one down here. Yeah, that's the Tennessee River. Yes. So the only like mixed use places that are zoned are this red color right here. This red color is the only mixed use developments. Everything else that's R1 through R1A is single family housing. They're really pushing mixed use development, but within their zoning map, there's no mixed use zoning that are ample with it. And the whole point of the comprehensive plan is to create an interconnected city that has mixed use developments and a strong transit system that allows people to age in place. It's very visionary and all, but the comprehensive plan doesn't really tackle anything other than just create policies and potential things they could implement. Yeah, that was pretty much my complaint of the comprehensive plan for the city of Huntsville. It's very visionary and it has a lot of policy goals that it wants to achieve, but it's not very concrete. You can't really measure or evaluate the things you're doing. Nigeria, he wants to know if you can offer your point of view as to how our two comprehensive plans are different.
I think Huntsville, they talk about a lot more, talk about more policies than Nebraska does. And I also think, like Dr. was talking about earlier, how Nebraska was planning a little too far ahead. I feel like Huntsville is sooner correct.
You repeat that?
I said Nebraska, they're planning a lot further down the road than Huntsville's. And I feel like Nebraska, they have more, I don't know how to word it. More, I don't want to say diverse policies, but in that way, if that makes sense.
In Nigeria?
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hello? Can you hear me
Hello?
now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Do you think both cases work on the same comprehensive plan model?
Do I think they were the same comprehensive model?
I'm saying, do you think both cases are working on the same comprehensive plan model if they are that different?
I think something they have in common is wanting to have that connectedness, like complete neighborhoods. I think that's something that each plan has in common. And they're looking for to build a more equitable environment.
I didn't get that.
I said both are also looking to build a more equitable environment.
You mean they both have the same objective?
Yes, some of their objectives are do favor.
What do you think? Do you think they work on the same model?
I personally thought that they were both very visionary, but the city of Huntsville's was more visionary. They're very focused on what the city could be and not really trying to implement. How can I say this? The city of Huntsville's comprehensive plan is just a very big vision. It's just a big vision.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you see me? No.
No, I can't see, but I can hear you.
Okay, very good. So again, the question was, do you, and I had the same question to Lewis, do you think they work on the same model? If they are that different? As Lewis was saying, the working in Huntsville was very visionary, and whatever was planned for Lincoln in Nebraska was actually more down to earth, like things to do.
Actually had a timeline.
And they had a timeline. What do you think?
I agree.
I'm not sure that I can actually put them in the same category, because comprehensive planning is like, it's a category, a species of things. What is happening is what I believe I might be able to present here to both of you, if you allow me.
I can't say. The city of Huntsville's thing was comprehensive, but not comprehensive in the way that we think about it.
I would say that it is more, both are visionary, but maybe the city of Huntsville is much bigger, start with. But I would also say that visionary is part of comprehensive when you have less constraints to work with, like in Lincoln, Nebraska. If things are, this is the same question we were talking about when we were talking about Lincoln. We said that, can you plan for 35 years? Can you plan for 35 years here in Huntsville? What do you think?
They could try.
No, Can they or cannot they?
Realistically, no.
Realistically, no. Okay. I don't know whether you can see this or not, but I hope you can.
I can see.
Can you see the presentation now?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. So this was done in the year 2000. And the only reason I did this presentation was that I met with some guys in Dubai and Sharjah, and they were telling me that they cannot actually plan for the future of their cities because things change not every 5 years or not every 10 years, but not even by the year. They were saying that the plan of Dubai city was updating by the day. Like every day they will have something new. And by something new, it might be new developments, might be new investors coming. It might be their need to change some regulations because the city was exploding with development. So if you have a plan for, not for 35 years, if you have a plan for 5 years, it will not work.
I feel like the city of Huntsville was eventually like, it's supposed to be an end goal, not like the actual comprehensive plan that they want to have, but what they would like to have whenever.
I will start from what Lewis was saying, because what they discovered in other cities in the world, that when things change fast, or what I call in this paper, this was part of a presentation about a paper, and the paper was rapid urban development for cities that, I mean, they cannot predict the future. Why they cannot predict the future? Because whatever plans they did in the past, as I'm showing here in this plan, this is Sharjah city, and they created a plan in 1969, which is like the beginning of whatever comprehensive plans they had. They did it by the book. They did like, this is where industry will be, and this is where housing will be, and this and that. But after 1971, everything boomed, changed. And if you compare the population of like maybe 50 or 60,000 in 1970 to 400,000 in 1995, there was no way nobody can predict that. So they continued with the comprehensive plan tradition of changing things and having a target year. And every time a target year would be a little bit closer. So when they did the 1969 plan, they imagined that the target year would be 2000. But actually, when they did also the 1986 plan, they kept the 2000 year as a target, which meant that for the first time, they planned for 35 years. For the second plan, they planned for what, 14 years.
That's feasible.
That's why my question to Nigeria and to you, Lewis, that she presented something that was planning for 35 years, and you are planning something, I mean, you're presenting something for a plan that didn't even show a projection, didn't have a plan yet. So actually, this is the main idea, I mean, dilemma of comprehensive planning, because you think that you control things and you know everything about whatever data you have. So how useful were your data? Because now you collected all the data in the world, and how useful was it?
It gave us a nice vision.
But you knew from the last vision that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So comprehensive planning still holds as scientific thinking of how planning should be. Meaning that the scientific problem solving procedure actually is what we explained last time as the planning process. the 7 or 5 or 3 steps that starts with data collection, data analysis, then coming with clear objectives and directions for the plan, and then coming with alternatives, alternative evaluation, optimum solution, and then going back. Actually, this is what they call in science in general, in all the disciplines, that this is a problem-solving situation, process, procedures. So it's not really related to planning only, but you can do the same when you are solving a mathematical problem. You collect data, analyze the data, you come up with different ways of solving the problem, you come up with the best way to solve this mathematical problem, you solve it, and you evaluate. If done, you're done. If not done, you go back, which is iterations. You do iterations. That's what I mentioned last time about having iterations of the whole planning process. So actually what happened in the I would believe the late 1970s and 1980s. Comprehensive planning started sometime after First World War. It was very much strengthened in the 1930s. After the Second World War, it just took the world by a storm. And everybody believed that this is the way to work, because now we live in the science era of the world where we control everything.
So would you say that the comprehensive plan for the city of Huntsville is very easily changed, allowing to go through more
Actually, I would say that they did it intentionally to be very elastic. And that's what we call in planning, not actually comprehensive. It is still, I mean, comprehensive planning is like something that people like. I mean, if I tell you that this is not comprehensive, you'll not like me. But if I'm saying that this is comprehensive with a twist or with a change or being elastic or being considerate to whatever is changing, you will accept that. But if I start by telling you it's not comprehensive, you will not feel good. Because almost all planners in the world think that planning should be comprehensive, should cover all the aspects. It should cover everything. It should include everybody. But I mean, this paper that I did about these cities in the United Arab Emirates, which started from scratch. I mean, the whole United Arab Emirates as a country started in 1971. There was no country called United Arab Emirates before. So 1971, they started their country, which meant that whatever happened before 1971 cannot actually predict what would happen after 1971. That's the issue of comprehensive planning, because if you cannot project, predict, analyze the data and come up with a trend from historic, as Nigeria was saying, it's like historic trends and things, then your whatever plan you are proposing is not something that you can defend or something that might happen. You still don't know. Even if you have analyzed all the data and you brought all the data and you worked with all the data, it still doesn't work. I will just continue a little bit with this and I will just bring this presentation to. Okay, I mean, we will shift. But this was Sharjah city and they tried to do plans. And as I said, the first plan was like maybe 30 years of projection. Second plan was like only 14 years for projection and so on. So what they came up afterwards was what they called future vision with action plans. And actually it's a worldwide direction now, not only in the States.
Is that like when we have our comprehensive plan?
Sorry, it's me because I should mute.
Is that where we have our comprehensive? I think it's me. So we have a comprehensive plan. And then from there, we have our strategic plans.
Okay, so what Lewis was saying is, I don't know why I mean, there is an echo, but what Lewis was saying actually is a lot of sense, because he's saying, so now it's not comprehensive plan, but it is like future vision with strategic plans. That's what he said.
So we have our comprehensive plan, and then a lot of the times, planning departments will have strategic plans.
No, wait. If we believe that the comprehensive plan is too optimistic, let me put it nicely, and it will not happen, because we don't believe that we cannot have a good projection. So what would happen? And actually, this is not considered comprehensive in most of the urban planning literature. They would call it vision with strategy, with strategic planning, or vision with action planning. So you create a direction for the future. Like whatever Lewis presented about the city of Huntsville was actually what I'm saying here about is future vision. And with that future vision, I will be having different smaller strategic plans. Like I will have a vision about how the city should grow. Where are the directions of growth? Is it east, west, north, south? And then I would do either action plans of specific areas in that direction, or make it open it for investors and real estate agents, or I mean, so I'm not agent, but actually real estate companies to come and fulfill if they are interested in these directions, because actually it kind of ratifies my original vision that this direction is good. So actually, if I have companies interested in developing in that direction, it means it kind of confirms that this direction is good.
So within this plan, comprehensive plan, the city has built, they also had sub-area plans. And they were strategically
That's
planned
action.
for the different neighborhoods of the city. And
What Lewis is mentioning, I'm sorry that he had to mute, but actually what he's saying is in the city of Huntsville, they have like area plans for specific neighborhoods, right? That's what he said. Okay, so what I'm saying now is that because we have a vision for the future, but actually this idea of a comprehensive plan was very specific. What they called, I mean, in the 1970s, they started to call this plan a blueprint. And blueprints were considered to be bad because you are telling the city managers of all the details they need to do to make the city work. And they discovered in the 1970s, 80s, and afterwards that things change very fast. And whatever you do with the blueprint, it doesn't work. So again, with the vision, if the city of Huntsville is having a vision for extensions, in some directions, or having multi-use land uses, or whatever they have in the vision, like aging in place. So this will go to different entities, agencies that like work with infrastructure, electric, will have a meeting with the guys in the Arsenal or the Redstone or whatever, and with the research districts in the city of Huntsville, and they will come together and say, okay, you have this vision, how does it work for you, or how would you like to improve it or apply your strategies for it? So actually, when you are putting the vision, you are putting the vision for the general definition of the city of Huntsville, but you don't have any specific strategies or policies or something like that. And then in a second step, you will come with whatever you presented today as this is the vision, and then they have like hundreds of policies, because these policies do not originate from the same planning department. They originate from everybody else working with the planning department. Like they will have few things about street network, about transportation, but the rest of the policies will come from other stakeholders, people interested in the city of Huntsville in developing. So I would go back to my paper about Sharjah and Dubai, because what triggered this paper was that they said that they develop daily changes in the city of Dubai to cope up with whatever developers want to have. So it ends up that in your vision, you come up with like the city morphology. Let me go back to this. So what it says that our city will be a megalopolis. Megalopolis is a combination of land uses and things that are actually interacting together, but we don't have a specific location for each or boundaries between each. But I know that whatever happens in research and development in the city of Huntsville should be clustered around the existing research districts. This will be useful for the city, unless somebody else comes and says, well, we are almost full, so we're gonna try some new area for research and development. Or somebody comes with entertainment and says, okay, we have the old downtown area, which is completely dilapidated. We're gonna develop this area and to have like mixed use entertainment and a good CBD, a new CBD center, regenerate the center. So what happens with vision planning is that you have the first step of the comprehensive plan we talked about last time, which was have a brief objective or vision before getting the data. And then instead of collecting all the data about the city that you are planning, you kind of do surveys and workshops and charrettes, planning charrettes and things with all the stakeholders. So you come up not with all the data, but actually with detailed objectives. And according to that, you collect data only about each of these objectives. So if you are working with transportation, you need transportation data. And it is sectoral planning only for transportation, knowing the data about transportation. And some other entity or agency working with affordable housing will be collecting data about the socio-economic profile of the city, the needs for affordable housing and things, and then they will end up with a plan for affordable housing. And somebody working with whatever rocket science or the research centers and things, and they will get something of what you are mentioning about aging in place or improving the income distribution or having better jobs in the city, and they will be developing. So it ends up your vision meeting with stakeholders, developing detailed objectives, coming up with strategies and policies. These end up being with not only hundreds of policies, but actually thousands of actions. So it's like a vision with strategic planning, or vision, even if you cannot do strategic planning, vision with actions. So actually every entity has to apply for its own policy to be approved by the Planning Commission of the City of Huntsville. But within that, they would tell you exactly how they are going to approach this strategy. Like, we're going to develop the railroad system. We're going to work on like 5 neighborhoods and make them like model neighborhoods to age in, and we will show examples of what kind of housing we are proposing. So it doesn't go like a blueprint of a whole city, but it goes like vision planning with strategic, or as I used in this paper, different nucleus for everything. Like in that city and in Dubai, they started talking about the educational city, the medical city, the knowledge city, and they are all kind of districts within the city of Dubai. And if I look here at the city of Huntsville, they have the medical district, the research district. I don't know what other districts they have, but actually they have like industry, they have regeneration, and they have other things. So it works like this. Instead of having a comprehensive plan that results in a detailed plan, you start with a vision plan and strategies or policies, but you definitely end with stakeholders doing actions. So it might be the vision plan with strategies and then actions done one by one, approved by the planning department each time, or you get a good vision plan and then strategies approved by the entities. And as we said, in the comprehensive plan with a blueprint, you have one projected time, like what Nigeria was projecting about Lincoln. In Lincoln, it was, the city was not big. So actually they could develop a full comprehensive plan with a real plan at the end. Like you do this in that district and you do that in that district, and this is the kind of transportation, and this is our cut year for whatever we are proposing. And I still believe 30 years is too much. With the city of Huntsville, they were wiser because their city was much bigger. They cannot predict the future in details. So what they did was actually, I think, kind of prudent or like savvy. They made good vision under which you can have different strategies and policies. So you can have like an environmental strategy that will have a predicted line of finish like in 50 years, 60 years, 30 years. But then you'll have something for housing that will last for 10 years, and something for industry that will maybe 5 years, something for research that might be for 15 years. So what happened in the 1980s? I will actually invite you and Nigeria. Nigeria is still with us, right? You are listening.
You're still listening.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, very good. So actually, I will ask both of you to seek for next time to read about vision planning. I will post something today, but vision planning is an intelligent development of comprehensive planning when planners discovered that they cannot predict with good accuracy for the future. And it was always decided in their comprehensive plan that you review the plan every 5, some places 7 years, some places 10 years, but mostly like 5 to 7 years. But they discovered that after 5, 7, 10 years, that whatever is left from the original plan is really not worth the time spent on creating the plan. So they turned into, or some people at least, vision planning with strategic development, or vision planning with actions. It saves time. It doesn't take, I mean, I worked with people from, I believe they were from Berlin and Frankfurt in Germany. In German planning, they put this criteria that your plan should, I mean, from start to end, should not take more than 6 months. That's fast, because they kind of pressure you not to collect all the data that you don't think you are going to use effectively. You don't collect. You only collect the data that you are going to work with. What's really more important, you don't end up with a plan that is very detailed, because in 6 months you cannot do that. So you will end up with a vision with some strategic decisions. Like, this will be the extension of the city. This corridor will be important. This connection to the highway will be important. Housing will be like in these places, but no real plans. And industry or research or whatever is really distributed all around. We came up here I mean, this was done in Dubai, 2000, and they were saying education nucleus, medical nucleus, the airports and things, I mean, big decisions. So you have a vision and big decisions, which result in strategies. And each strategy will have like hundreds of actions afterwards or policies and things. And that's a very good observation by Lewis, actually, that he thought that this vision and hundreds of policies with no projection line. Perfect. That's exactly what we need to do. So in that city, they had this office park nucleus. They said this part will be the address for all businesses in this city of Sharjah. In Dubai, they had this place around what they built afterwards to be Khalifa, the Khalifa Tower or the Burj of Khalifa. And what I was I will upload this paper. Actually, this is the presentation, not the paper. But I might also upload something that was called the City of Patches. And that's exactly a city with a vision and some strategy. So actually, you have a city made of patches of big plots of land, like couple of miles by couple of miles, or 2 miles by 3 miles, or 4 miles, whatever. So actually, big patches of land defined by main corridors. That's the thing you can predict with your vision, but you cannot predict any details. And you will predict that this area will be important after 10 years. This is where we have to regenerate. This is where business is going. This is where industry should go. And I mean, big decisions. So actually vision with a big decision. And then some action plan. I think that was a paper, maybe 2008, 9, something like that. And it was called the City of Patches. It was also about the city of Dubai. And the issue is, we learned a lot of things in planning. I mean, you and Nigeria started like 3-4 years ago, something like that. And you have learned a lot of things, but you never put everything together in creating what will be your planning approach for the future. I believe what you learned from Huntsville is what the future is. I like what they did, because they imagine that they cannot predict in details. They want to invite the stakeholders, private sector, whatever entities they have, like the army, the research, big entities, the whatever companies they want to involve, in addition to the people of the city, in addition to historic conservation and other things. So actually, what they did was a vision and then strategies and action plans. Does that mean they are not planning? No, they are actually planning, as they ended up doing in Dubai. They are planning the infrastructure, road network, and an idea about what the land use will be. I mentioned like a couple of weeks ago that comprehensive planning, or actually planning, was titled Land Use and Transportation Plan. That was the name. I mean, in 1960s, that's how people learned planning. It was called Land Use and Transportation Planning, because they were thinking about land use and transportation. So after a full cycle of going into details and action planning and other things, now you're back to action planning as part of a vision. So big vision, strategies, actions. They had a couple of other names actually they used, and I would like to mention them. One of them was structure plan. Did you hear this before? So what is a structure plan? It's like when you have a building, it has a structure, and then you fill in things. Like you start building walls, you start doing finishes, you start thinking about the elevation, and I mean, all of the details. But what is a structure? Structure actually is the basic vision that might create a building. It's not the building, structure. So actually in planning, structure plan is the main items, components that make a plan. You have the road network, main infrastructure, main idea about how much how many of the population you would need in the city, how many people you can accommodate. Would that be one urban mass or divided urban mass? Would you have satellites outside? Would you have industry or whatever inside this? I mean, the same mass, or would it be outside? How far away? I mean, these are the big decisions you take with the vision. So that's why it's called structure. And it is based on road network, land uses, and things that define the future of the city without details. So after defining this, I would seek different stakeholders that I would believe will be interested. Like I would seek big companies that will be interested in locating in the industrial zone or in the research area, or I will seek affordable housing or developers who would like to develop for middle income and high income people and direct them where they can apply for development. But from the beginning, I don't have the detailed picture. I have a picture about my vision and what are the strategies, but not everything. They had this name, structure. So actually, vision planning with a strategy or action is like a structure plan, still with action areas. Structure plan with action areas. Do you develop the action areas for everything? No. For whatever will entice the private sector or the real estate developers or industries to come to you and apply. So you don't have a label for each plot of land in the city, but you have like this area is going to be housing. If somebody comes to you and say, well, I want to have a big commercial development here, then you evaluate and you might change your idea about what happens. There's a very good book called A New Theory of Urban Design by Christopher Alexander. And what he did was he had a good class at Berkeley, and it was a graduate course. And he said to his students, okay, we have this empty plot of land, and we need to think about a city in the future. But we're not even thinking about the city. They were architecture. So actually, he thought, okay, every one of you will propose a building, and then when the first one proposes the building, and we need to come together and discuss and decide whether this building will be good for the area or not. So actually didn't even decide what kind of building. Everyone will come up with a proposal, and then when you evaluate this proposal, another person will come and say, well, now he started this housing area. He will definitely need entertainment and commercial. I want to develop that. So they will discuss how big, where, and other things. And then comes the guy who represents the government and say, well, now we need a good city hall with some services. So I plan to do this in that area. And then they discuss it and it comes up. So actually the whole city was developed piece by piece, actually building by building. So back again, comprehensive plan was a very good idea in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, 1960s. Why is it used in the US? Because it has a legal meaning. It means that you are not leaving anybody outside. Comprehensive planning means that if I'm coming to replan the city of Huntsville, I will not target these areas accommodating a special minority and say we need to change this area. But I would say that I'm planning this whole area comprehensively, so I'm covering everybody, and I will start with this area or that area, but actually comprehensively means in a legal term that I'm not leaving anybody out. That is a little bit different from comprehensive after World War II, which was covering everything, dealing with all the aspects, resulting in a blueprint. A blueprint here means a detailed plan you can send directly to the contractor to start construction. So what came after the comprehensive plan? Vision with the strategic directions and action plans, structure plan with action areas, or they had a third name. I don't know how wide it was used, but actually it was a grid plan. It's like another way of saying structure plan, but it's more about a grid plan of infrastructure, facilities, and that's it. So actually everything else, all the land in between, can be a fair game for everybody. You can apply for a license to build a supermarket, or a license to build a hospital, or a license to build some this and that. But whatever happens afterwards is actually like you have the grid plan, and then you have zoning. It looks like you are creating a legal document for this after good discussions, and this is, you can change them over time. Like every time somebody applies for something, you can change your, not the very vision, but actually some of this grid or zoning ideas. So my own conviction, my own understanding, my own belief is that we have passed the concept of a comprehensive detailed plan years ago. Whatever happens today is what you just presented about future vision with strategies, policies, actions. But it's very clear today with your two presentations that the second presentation was actually about comprehensive vision, future vision, and some details. But the first presentation in Lincoln was an old, traditional, comprehensive plan, mainly because it's a small city, which puts us back. If we say that this is my approach for planning, would it apply for all the cities? Like, do they plan the city of New York the same way they would plan the city of Huntsville? No. Mainly because unpredictables in the city of New York will be much more. Kind of population, stakeholders, ideas, things happening will be completely different. Would it be like the same way they plan Seattle and the surrounding area? Not even, maybe the city of Seattle and the surrounding area will be more creative, more innovative. I don't know. Maybe the city of New York will be more innovative. But for sure, the city of Lincoln in Nebraska cannot afford to be that visionary in the future, because they are limited with like smaller population, different set of circumstances and environmental conditions and economic and social conditions and things, which are not actually the case in New York or Seattle or Boston or in Cairo or in Dubai. Okay, so I actually also mentioned in this paper something about global competition. Do you remember when we talked about globalization? I think both of you. With globalization, you are competing all the time. So with competition, things change. So you cannot predict the future with a certainty, because you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, nobody predicted the war in Ukraine. Would the city of New York has some changes happening to its planning because of the war in Ukraine? Would the city of London change something?
Yes.
Why?
Their energy.
Because this is a direct impact, energy. So actually they will need. But would you wait till something like this happens to you in the city of New York and then change things?
At that point, it might be a little too late.
Would that be a wise decision by the state of California when they said by the year 2035, we will not have any cars running with gas. It will be all electric or hybrid.
It's good thinking for the future if there's like an energy crisis.
Again, you answered yourself. Would you wait till there is an energy crisis?
No.
Would you wait till pollution is actually more than what we have now, and then the global warming is really bad to an extent that something bad will happen, like what happened in Florida? No. So again, I would not weave that now into our discussion about the globalization impact, but I will use the word megalopolis unbound. Cities that are like the city of New York or Seattle or San Francisco, cities that are actually connected to the outside world, are even more impacted by changes that you cannot predict anymore. That's completely different from the city of Lincoln in Nebraska, where you can predict for like 20 years. I would not even take it for 35 years, but I would take, okay, for 15, 20 years, yeah, it might be possible to predict. But I mean, like, do you remember? No, you don't remember. But there was a city in South Alabama state, was Andalusia. Andalusia, yes, or Andalusia. Andalusia is a city in the south of Alabama of 10,000 people. When you are planning for the future, you definitely, I mean, you can know people by name, you know, everybody, 10,000 people. I mean, you can put it in a list. So you know who is there, what they're working, what kind of income, what kind of families, population, everything. So when you're planning for the future, at least, you know, I mean, like 40%, 50% of what you need to know. I wouldn't go like the city of Lincoln and say that I'm doubling the number of minorities in the city in like, but they said 35 years. Wow. But I would say I can actually predict with a city of 10,000 people in a small rural area what's going to happen in the next 10 years with good certainty about that might happen. Actually, I cannot do that in New York, Seattle, London, Paris, Cairo, Riyadh, other cities. Dubai, definitely not. What made me interested in Riyadh, in Dubai, was actually this, because they were changed. I mean, I don't know how often do they change, update, regenerate the plan of Huntsville, but I believe very often. Yeah, very often. If they don't have a projection for a timeline, a date for the plan to happen, then I would think they are thinking openly in accepting or being flexible to change. The difference between the comprehensive plan and whatever else, vision and other things, will be that you are having more flexibility in the face of things that change daily, almost daily, like very often. I will need to actually cut the presentation here, and maybe we'll go with go here again. What is that? Are we kicked out? Are we still having Nigeria?
We're still here.
Still here, okay.
Still here.
Okay, I will just stop the share. And I would actually believe that we covered some good ground today. And I'm not against comprehensive, because when I feel bad when I'm against comprehensive planning. What I'm saying is comprehensive planning might be good for smaller cities with good predictions, but definitely not good for cities that are larger and have many local and global impacts. Huntsville is one of these cities which is changing. It actually changed over the last 10 years, much as I can see from the maps, but would continue to change over the years. I hope it does, and we know good strategies and actions to control the future, or at least direct the future. Actually, this is one of the main changes. In comprehensive planning, you assume that you are controlling the plan. And in other kinds of planning, like future vision and strategic planning, sector planning, you are actually directing the future. That's a big change. You are not controlling the future, you are directing the future. So the planner is not the technocrat who used to draw things and do things, but actually he is more of a mediator, reticulist, visionary for the future. I think we have to stop here. Najiri, what do you think? What would you like to say? Is she listening? Yes.
I am listening. Sorry, just be taking me a second to get to my mouse. But I mean, like you said, we need to, well, I know I do, I need to read more about the visionary planning, and I wrote it down here on my notes. And
if you start searching about vision planning, you will find
yeah, I
good
have it
literature.
down so I wouldn't forget. And you know, trying to compare it to comprehensive planning. But yeah.
Actually, I presented last time with Louis here this graph about the vision, the cone for the future. And we were discussing, I mean, I will maybe upload this, but actually we were discussing things like in the future, you have a probable future, a plausible future, a wild card future where things might be happening or not happening. So this is the problem with predictions. In comprehensive planning, we were definitely going for the probable. In other forms of planning, we are moving between plausible scenarios, wild cards, and even unpredicted twists in the future. Like, I'm not very happy with what's happening in the city of Detroit. So I would like to have a dramatic shift in the next 10 years. How to do that? I'm going to attract these kinds of investors. I'm going to do this, do that. And I can show you plans for cities and for things that they knew from the beginning that what they were proposing was impossible to come by, but they still kept the plans, which is cheating. I can be this kind of planner who goes for the planning commission or the city hall and present something I know that will never happen, but because I'm getting paid, I don't really bother telling them, and they cannot find out that I'm really cheating them by proposing something that will never happen, because in every plan I'm building in something that says I will review the plan every 5 years. So I have my job for 5 years. And when the 5 years happen, I'm reviewing things and I'm telling them, well, we could not predict that this will happen. So actually I'm changing the plan. So all your life, you can live in a city which is under construction. The whole time there is something improving, developing, changing, and the city is going nowhere because your vision is off. It's comprehensive. You knew from the beginning that you cannot predict for 30 years or 20 years. And I actually have a joke that I will end up with this lecture, because some guy who's really clever, he said, well, I can teach this horse to speak. So if you pay me enough money, I will make him speak. And they said, somebody, I mean, the governor, the ruler, the king at the time was very much interested and said, well, that's really something amazing. I would like you to teach this horse to speak. And he said, okay, just give me 20 years and I will teach it to speak. But I need every year like this kind of money, big chunk of money, and a secluded place because I can teach it only it's myself and the horse. And when they went out, they told him, well, this is stupid. Who would ever believe you that you're going to teach the horse? He said, yeah, but in 20 years, it's either the king will die, I will die, or the horse will die. So comprehensive plan works, I mean, in a 35 years. It's either the planner is dead, the guy who approved the plan is dead, or the city is just forgetting who did what and nothing is really to approve. All right, I believe we're done today. Thank you very much. I think it was very interesting. Thank you for the presentations. I enjoyed it. Nigeria, please join every week.
I'm doing my best, yes.
Look, if you cannot have a car next week, we can have like the whole thing on a Zoom.
Okay,
I will ask Lewis, maybe it's like easier for him or something instead of coming.
okay,
But we can do that. But please, face-to-face is also like more enjoyable.
yeah,
I really enjoy it. I mean, we can do with Zoom. We don't want to lose you. And please read whatever material I'm uploading because it's only the two of you and you need to present at the end something that's really useful. And I would think that creating a vision for Florida after Ian will be a good thing. So I will upload something for this kind of assignment. I'll upload some material for you to read about vision planning. And maybe you have carved your way of how would you deal with Florida. Maybe it's vision planning or a structure plan or a regional plan with some action areas, a vision with action, or sometimes they call it priority areas. I don't know. So vision with strategies would be good, actions. Okay, if you don't have any more questions, I think I will just retire.
all righty, have a good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lewis. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. Let me finish this. I don't want to lose it. So let me